You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Radio Show, only on Financial News and Talk. Now live in studio, your host, local and national real estate expert and consumer advocate, Ron Siegel.
And hello again. Welcome to Ron Siegel Radio. This is the show with no real boundaries as we discuss current events, financial markets, politics, sports, even poking fun at the rest of the media. This is the show that connects the dots of confusion delivered by conflicting media reports. We connect the dots so you know the actions you can take how your family or business can benefit from current events. Most of all, thank you for joining me. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day. We're a very focused show. We only chat about items that affect the roof over your head, your bank account, and anything I feel would benefit you. And let me remind you, if you ever have any home or finance-related questions, I am the consumer advocate looking out for you. And you can reach out to me directly, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Just remember, that's the number you call anytime for assistance. When you call that number, it comes directly to me first. There are operators standing by.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
While I do have a great team when it comes to developing a financing plan, a plan to save you money, I personally work with you even if you don't have any needs today. Save this number in your phone for future reference, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And yes, of course, we are celebrating today. We celebrate every day on Ron Siegel Radio. Now, this one could get out of hand, though. I'm just throwing that out there. This could get out of hand. Today is National Daiquiri Day. And they even put up a picture of a strawberry daiquiri. I like that. Maybe I'm an odd one. Well, most people think that I'm an odd one, but I do enjoy strawberry daiquiri. Sometimes a little bit of the sweetness is good. Generally, I'm not a big rum person, but the daiquiri, okay, we'll go with that one. Tasting of sunshine and beaches. It might be hard to believe how the daiquiri came to be back in 1898. Men blasted away in the mines of a small community off the coast of Cuba during the Spanish-American War. One American engineer, Jennings Cox, supervised a mining operation located in a village named Daiquiri. Every day after work, Cox and his employees would gather at the Venus Bar. Then one day, Cox mixed up Bacardi lime sugar in a tall glass of ice. So there's a little useless trivia for anybody that wants a little trivia on where the daiquiri came from. I just figure, something, we'll just drink the thing. What the heck? And, I see these things on social media, words with friends. Do you play Words with Friends? I don't know. I have been getting into, maybe I've gotten into Duolingo lately. Are you familiar with Duolingo? So I've been learning Spanish on there, and it's got this, it's practical stuff. So it's, things that you would use at a restaurant, things that you would talk with a family, things if you're going phrases that you might want to use. So I found it fascinating. I used to know Spanish. I'm getting my touch back a little bit. Let's check out what's going on in the markets right now. The Dow Jones Industrial Average up 463 points. The S&P 500 up 69. NASDAQ is up 240. Oil is up another 5 cents a barrel. Not a big move right there. What's it doing on gas prices? Are gas prices still dropping? Well, yeah, yesterday the average was $4.52 a gallon. Today it's $4.49.5 a gallon. So we've dropped about 2.5 cents. Again, it was $4.98 a month ago and $3.17 1 year ago today. Do we want to look? 406 in Louisiana. Josh, you still in Florida? Okay, so $4.23 a gallon over there in America. Come back here to California. We're at $5.87 a gallon. Ow! Yeah, $4.49 is the national average for a gallon of gasoline. What else is going on in the world right now? Lots of interesting things. I see that Turkey and Russia, looks like, may have come to an agreement on Ukrainian wheat. How does Turkey and Russia come to an agreement? But, I guess lack of leadership in the U.S., I guess we're not going to be involved in some of those things anymore. Lack of leadership. I saw a story this morning. It just fascinated me I'm sure you're not going to see this in the mainstream media. They're not going to tell you this one. So how about this? In the President Biden's cabinet, these economics people, they average about 2.5 years of business experience. Think about that one. 2.5 years of business experience, and they're the people that are running the country. That's a little scary, maybe to me. But here's the other issue, and I listened to a young man. Think about this one. I couldn't imagine this, but could you imagine being 25 years old running for the United States Congress? Young man in Maryland. So one of the things of his platform is that he says, you get all these people that are in Washington making decisions, and none of them, or very few of them, will ever be alive when some of the consequences of these decisions have to be felt. Think about that. That's pretty astute for a 25-year-old. His name is Matthew Foldi, Foldi, running for Congress in Maryland. And he said, how do you put it? In 2075, he'll still be younger than most of the people in Congress. Fascinating concept, right? So think about that. As they go and try and take over more and more parts of our lives, everything, well, they want to take over everything in our lives. The issue is they're not going to be around to see any of it. They're not going to be the ones that have to reap the consequences of their actions today. They don't care. All they care about is what's going on. What are they doing? Think about this one. There's going to be a vote, I think, this week on semiconductors. And lo and behold, Nancy Pelosi's husband goes and buys options on semiconductor companies ahead of the vote. Now, when I had my licenses at Merrill Lynch, that was called front running, and it was illegal. I couldn't go out and buy something and then tell all my clients that I think this is a good buy. I had to wait until the very last client bought it before I could buy. Otherwise, it's illegal. But they skirt it because Mrs. Pelosi says, well, I didn't buy it. Her husband did. What's the difference? We're in California. This is a community property state. But it's just amazing. And it goes on all the time. Why isn't there rules against that for people in Congress? Maybe in addition to the term limits and age limits, maybe they should start some of these things and move some of them out a little earlier than they had been doing before. Unbelievable. We're going to go to a quick break right here this morning. I'm going to go a little bit early today, as soon as Josh is ready. I throw these curveballs at him because I'm going to talk to you in the next segment about reducing price reductions on real estate. We're getting about 30%. Right now, we're up to about 33% of the properties have a price reduction on real estate. 33%. But why are people doing that? Could you think it might be that they're doing the price reductions because that's the way it's always been done and they don't know any better? Do you think that could be the case? We're going to talk about price reductions. Again, 33.33% of the property, single-family residences that are on the market right now have had a price reduction, and it's the chart on it is growing rapidly. We're going to show you that chart when we come back. We're going to talk about alternatives to the price reduction when we come back. You can reach me anytime. Our off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the number 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
Is your budget getting blown up with high prices of gas and increased costs for other household needs? This is Ron Siegel, host of the daily Home and Finance radio program. Did you know if you have a low interest rate mortgage along with auto debt, credit card debt, or student loans, your family could potentially save $500 or more per month by restructuring these debts? If you'd like a free Borrow Smart analysis with our team, let's book an appointment to see how we might be able to relieve some stress. Schedule your appointment at rsrbsa.com. That's rsrbsa.com for your free Borrow Smart analysis. rsrbsa.com.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The Mortgage Minute today being brought to you by our friends at Geneva Financial. When you're ready for that next home loan, Geneva's got the programs and the products. You just need to make the call, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. S&P 500 now up 74 points. We're looking at the 10-year Treasury. That one's been holding for us. We're staying below that 3% level, up 4 basis points right now. Mortgage-backed securities are down 3 basis points. That is meaning interest rates should be dropping just a little bit, but OBMMI, they provide the most comprehensive, accurate, timely, and interactive analysis of pricing ever conducted in the mortgage industry, calculated from actual locked rates with consumers across 35% of all mortgage transactions nationwide. Yesterday's numbers, conforming loans, not high balance, but conforming loans, locked 5.788, just up a little bit. 30-year jumbos, 5.181, down about as much. The 30-year FHA loans, 5.645. Best loan on the market for those who earned it, our veterans. 5.406 is the VA loan. And the USDA loan yesterday, those in the rural areas, 5.615 is where those loans locked. And you ask, Ron, I can get that information somewhere else. I can go to google.com and get that. Why is it happening? Well, I'll tell you right now what's driving a lot of the numbers is the National Association of Home Builders Housing Market Index for July fell 12 points to 55, which was much worse than expected. 65 was what we were looking for. Looking at the internals, current sales were down 12 points to 64. Sales expectations fell 11 points to 50. Buyer traffic was down 11 points to 37. While the first two metrics are still above 50, which signals expansion, these figures have been coming down sharply. The concerning was buyer traffic, very weak at 37, and signals a slowdown in buyer activity. Here's a big issue that we're going to be watching in these numbers that are coming through is we're hearing, okay, so the buyer traffic is down and the home builders are not excited. Well, are we going to see a crash in real estate prices? Well, I'm going to tell you the answer to that right here, right now is no. Why would that be? Well, the biggest issue is called supply and demand. Housing starts for June were down 2% to a 1.56 million unit pace, which was worse than the 1.4 gain expected. Single-family homes, those are the most important ones, those are down 8.1%. Housing permits were down 0.6% last month, but once again, single-family were down more significantly, dropping 8%. Now, if you keep dropping the amount of homes being built and we keep needing more homes, that's the supply side of supply and demand. If we're seeing that supply side going the wrong way, we're not getting more homes, well, then the fact is people are still getting older. They're still creating families. They're still needing properties. So we're not going to see a big drop in housing prices. Let's take a look at some numbers. New housing supply. Housing starts are 1,370,000. Destroyed annually is about 100,000. Total new supply net is 1,270,000. Household formations, though, is 1,004,000. So we've actually got a deficit of 130,000 when it comes to new home supply. That's the reason I don't believe that we're going to see a whole lot of price drop in real estate, even though people are not buying homes at the same pace that they were buying them. That's the Mortgage Minute brought to you by our friends at Geneva Financial. When you're ready for that next home loan, Geneva's got the programs and the products. You just need to make the call, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. So before the break, I was telling you, I wanted to chat a little bit about the current market, the current state of the market, where we are, and the properties that are going into, that we're seeing price reductions. And we have a chart that we're going to put up on the screen if you're watching us on RonSiegelRadio.tv, any of our socials, or the ABC News and Talk AM 1490 video feed. And it shows you the percentage of properties with recent price reductions. So the way this research is done by our friends over at Altos Research is they follow every single home on single family residence on the market every single week. Glad they're doing it, and I'm not. But if you look at all the homes on the market right now, and you'll see there, if you're watching the chart under my bird's eye view, 33.3% of the properties have a price reduction of some sort on them. Now, we did peak out in 2018, the last time we had significant, but not as significant as now, interest rate increases. We got up to 37.2%. But at that 37.2, the slope of the chart was already going down. It had peaked out right there. We're still in a dramatic increase. Last week, we were at about 30%. Now we're at 33 1/3. What are we going to be at next week? Probably continuing to increase with price reductions. Now, I know that that's a traditional way of dealing if you're not getting your properties sold. One of the agents that I know out of Laguna Beach made a comment on social media that she had a property in Laguna that had 80 families go through it. She had the same weekend, same day. In Corona, I think there was 6 people went through it. And in Anaheim Hills, nobody showed up. Same advertising spend, same everything. But what's that telling us? Might be telling us that, the affluent are still out there shopping, and those folks that are more moderate means, well, maybe they're not out there shopping. Or maybe they're a little more fearful than those that are affluent. Just, you can only speculate on these things. So what is our opportunity? What's our options? Well, we've got a couple of them. We've had our friend Wellington Pendel come in here, and we've talked about one of the solutions. And I'm going to share with you, some people will tell you that, no, it's not right, Ron. They don't do that, Ron. But here's the issue. What if you have $1 million property and you say, you know something, instead of taking that $15,000 or $20,000 or $30,000 or $50,000 price reduction, what if we take the buyer's agent commission and work with that? Now, I know the agents will all tell you, I don't look at commission when I go and sell houses or when I go and show houses. I know nobody ever looks at commission. Put a listing up there with $100 commission and they're not going to show it, I promise you. But they don't look at that. Yeah, right. But everyone will tell you,
it is what it is.
But we are human beings. We live in a capitalist society, all things being equal. Don't you think the agent's going to promote the property that is going to be, that's going to favor them? Let's talk about it. So we've got that $1 million property, and I mean, we just had one just recently, and we had a $995,000 property. They did a price reduction down to $925,000. I said, what if you did 1% or 1.5%, because the buyer's agent was going to see a commission of 2.5%. Fairly often right now, we're seeing 2.5% to 3% on the buyer's agent commission. Now, the vast majority of the properties, you and I, we're looking at properties online all the time. You want to know what properties are available in your price range? Go to rsrhomescout.com, rsrhomescout.com. You'll be able to see every property that's in the marketplace that's in your price range. Properties still sell through realtors. They're the ones that are still going to sell the property. We shop online, but we want to make sure we get great advice and great counsel as we go through that process. So what if we go into the notes, if you have your agent go into and don't tell me about the discount agents, because that's just stupid. Think about that. These guys that are advertising as a discount agent. If you want a discount agent, why pay the discount agent? Well, they tell you the MLS is what's going to sell it. Well, go online to your local MLS. I think you can put your property yourself on the MLS for $49. If you think that's all it's going to take to sell it, why spend more money? I think you can do it. I think it's $49, but you can do it yourself online. And then you get absolutely no service or cut rate service or buy a la carte service, whatever you want. But let's go and do this from a marketing standpoint. Now, if you go to the agents and you say, you know something, this property, this $1 million property, we're going to put a special. The successful buyer's agent is going to get $40,000 for selling this property. Now, do you think that that's going to motivate buyer's agents to look in their sphere of influence to see who might be interested in buying this property? Of course it will. They're going to call everybody that they know of that may have an interest or may have a bunch of equity and say, you know something, this new property just came on the market. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. And I think you need to take a look at it. It fits your needs. It's got that 4 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms. It's got the white picket fence. It's got the pool. It's got the formal living room, the dining room, everything else. All right there. Think about that. $40,000. Do you think that'll motivate? Will that motivate agents to come out and show that property, to show your property? Of course it will. Now you're going to go from that agent in Anaheim Hills that had nobody showing it. Every agent in the marketplace is going to be going out there seeing which of their clients can buy it. More than that, they're going to be pushing, saying, hey, you know something, we better act real quick because we see look at all these people that are here to look at this property. And maybe we need to waive some of the contingencies. If you really want this property, maybe you need to waive some of these contingencies. Think about this. These are all things that are going to happen, and it's happening all over the state, and it's happening at all price ranges. I've seen it all the way up to properties at $8 million. It's happening all over. So it's not a question of will it work. The question is, are you going to employ it? What's that mean? Think about that portion of it. It's a whole different world. Now, I'm going to give you a second option when we come back. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate current events and the financial markets. When we come back, let me see, we're going to talk about the second part of what you can do prior to a price reduction, why pre-approval is a game changer for home buyers. What is tax loss harvesting? We're going to talk about that as well. Tax loss harvesting, all that and more. You can reach me anytime. Our off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, shame on you. The replay is available, though. Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube. Ron Siegel, the number 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Is your budget getting blown up with high prices of gas and increased costs for other household needs? This is Ron Siegel, host of the daily Home and Finance radio program. Did you know if you have a low interest rate mortgage along with auto debt, credit card debt, or student loans, your family could potentially save $500 or more per month by restructuring these debts? If you'd like a free Borrow Smart analysis with our team, let's book an appointment to see how we might be able to relieve some stress. Schedule your appointment at rsrbsa.com. That's rsrbsa.com for your free Borrow Smart analysis. rsrbsa.com.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The real-time real estate segment today being brought to you by the area trusted real estate professionals of Ron Siegel Radio. Visit rsrhomescout.com, rsrhomescout.com. Get all the information you want about real estate. About 97% of the properties on the market throughout the country are listed on the Home Scout, RSR Home Scout tool. You don't have to do anything other than just go and visit, register right there. No advertising, no commitments on there. Great tool. Fourth button over, you can actually find out 4 different valuation sources as to what their comments are and what their valuations are of your exact address. Why pre-approval is a game changer for home buyers. If you're planning to buy a home this year, you might have heard that pre-approval is a necessary step to take before starting out on your journey. But why is that? And is it still important in today's shifting market? The truth is, getting a pre-approval letter from your lender is crucial. And when it comes to your home search, it can be a game changer in so many ways. To better understand why, it's important to know what pre-approval is. Freddie Mac defines the process like this, and I quote, "A pre-approval is an indication from your lender that they are willing to lend you a certain amount of money to buy your future home. The lender you work with will provide you with a pre-approval letter, which is an official document that states the maximum amount they are willing to lend you," unquote. Put simply, pre-approval from a lender helps you understand your true price range and how much money you can borrow for your loan. That can make it easier when you set out to search for homes. And since you'll know what you're pre-approved for, it'll also help once it's time to submit an offer on the home of your dreams. Another added benefit is that pre-approval lets the seller know you're qualified to buy a house. Paul Centopani, editor for Mortgage Reports, explains, quote, "Most sellers won't even consider an offer unless the buyer is pre-approved at the right price point. Sellers and their agents want to know you're ready and able to finance your offer amount. So you'll want to have your pre-approval teed up as soon as you're serious about bidding on a home you like." That's unquote. And I'm not going to say repeat the line. Every advantage you can gain as a buyer is crucial in a market that's consistently changing. You're going to need guidance to navigate these waters. So it's important to have a team of professionals, such as a real estate advisor and trusted lender, on your side. They'll make sure you're ready to put your best foot forward. And I'm going to take this one step further, because the team over at Geneva goes a step further. When you get that pre-approval letter, that's just the beginning. Because if you've given them all of your documents up front, they're going to actually have an underwriter look over those documents and go through the file and get you pre-underwritten. In the California contract, there's actually a box now that you can check that says that you're pre-underwritten. You can go in with no loan contingency. There might be a couple of things that you need there, but no loan contingency. So you're same as cash buyer. Give you a little example. End of last week, we actually had one of a family call us. They got pre-approved with the team over at Geneva. They got pre-underwritten with the team at Geneva. And yesterday, their loan was approved because they have pre-underwritten. So their loan was all done. They got the appraisal back. It was done on a rush. They're going to get their closing disclosure probably today or tomorrow. They'll be able to close maybe the early part of next week. Think about that. 10 days, 12 days, 15 days. Getting pre-approved or pre-underwritten for a mortgage helps you better understand what you can borrow, shows sellers you're serious about purchasing their home. If you have any questions, give me a call, 800-306-1990. And as always, I ask, if you have any friends, family, or coworkers looking to buy, sell, or borrow on real estate, can I count on you? Can I count on you to let us know? Give us a call. Introduce us. That's the Real-Time Real Estate segment, again, brought to you by the area trusted real estate professionals of Ron Siegel Radio. Visit rsrhomescout.com, rsrhomescout.com. So before the break, I was talking to you about price reductions, and we've got a chart showing you what has happened in price reductions year over year for the past several years. If you're watching us on ronsiegelradio.tv, any of our socials, or the ABC News and Talk video feed, you can actually see what it looks like going back to, if my eyes are somewhat decent, and they're not, it looks to me like the chart actually goes all the way back to 2016, showing what the slope and what the price properties with price reductions looks like. We're at 33.3% right now. In the last segment, I shared with you one option for avoiding that price reduction, or maybe taking the first step toward it. You may have to do a price reduction. I don't guarantee that that'll work, but I do guarantee that if you don't try it, it won't work. and you may end up having to reduce the price even more. So let's talk about reducing the price more. So we're going to take the exact same similar or example, and we're going to look at this and say, okay, we've got a property here, and I think we did the sample. I'm just going to pull it up on my screen so I can see it because my eyes are old. And again, if you're watching us on ronsiegelradio.tv, any of our socials, or the ABC News and Talk video feed, Josh is showing this on the screen there as well. If you're driving, listening to us on radio, you may want to go back to ronsiegelradio.com in the archives and take a look at the charts that we're showing, or we can actually send you a link to the chart. We have $1 million property. What if a buyer came in at a 20% down, or you're using 20% down? We're using hypotheticals here. So please don't tell me I know that the rate's higher or lower or better or worse. Just using hypotheticals to educate on a concept. Your numbers will vary. This is not an offer to loan. But we put in here an example. $1 million property, $800,000 loan amount, 6% interest, 6.618 is the APR. Payment is $59,4807. Cash to close, again in the hypothetical example, $219,572. Now, if you drop the price by $50,000 to $950,000, now the buyer is going to be looking at $760,000 as their loan amount. Interest rate didn't change because we did not do anything strategic. APR 6.17. Payment amount dropped to $56.36 because of that the price change, and the cash to close dropped to $209,000. Now, what if we go and we say, okay, I'm not going to do that $50,000 price drop. I'm going to use that money for what I term payment assistance. Payment assistance. Well, you can use that same $50,000 that you were thinking about in that price drop. We're going to offer that to a buyer and say, with this payment assistance program, again, our hypothetical example, your interest rate could drop to 4.375 with a 5.001 APR. Now, if you remember, at the $1 million price before, using the market numbers, we were at $59.48 a month was our payment. But under this payment assistance program, we're going to drop the payment by $822 a month. It's going to go to 5.001. That means we're looking at a cash to close of $211,000, $8,000 less for the borrower. Think about that. Now, what is that equal to? If we were to try and figure this out and say, okay, how do I do it with price if I don't help this buyer with our payment assistance? How far would I have to lower the price to get to the same payment amount of $51,2595? We'd have to drop the price $145,000. $145,000. So by offering this payment assistance, if it's marketed properly, we're going to be the equivalent of a $145,000 price drop. Now, I will share with you, this is a sophisticated tool, a sophisticated strategy. If it's not done correctly, it will trigger high price and predatory lending violations. You don't want that. We understand the way to get it written in the contract so that that does not happen, so you don't have those violations. We've already talked to the bank. We've already talked to the underwriters. They already know what we're doing as long as it's written properly in the contract. So what's that mean to you? You got to bring our lending team in early to work with the listing agent and the buyer's agents so they understand how this works. Because I don't know anybody that would rather say do a $145,000 drop over a $50,000 drop. And I know a lot of people that would prefer an $800 a month payment lower, a payment that's lowered by $800 a month, going from that $59.48 to $51.26. Wouldn't you? Just because you understand how to use the numbers to your benefit? Just throwing that out there for you, and want to make sure that you are on the page with us with these different strategies before you start making a price reduction. I like the idea of giving you strategies and working with numbers and understanding the numbers so that you're not giving away as much money. What are buyers expecting? What do buyers need? Well, what the buyer really needs, the buyer is really working toward a payment, right? For the most part, very, very few of us are going to ever pay off that mortgage. We're going to move. We're going to go somewhere else. We're going to do something else. We're not going to go out there and write $1 million check. We're not going to keep the loan for 30 years. I know you are. I hear that a lot too. I'm that one, Ron. I'm going to keep it for 30 years. But we keep it for 5.2 is the average. And you know something, what I did miss on this? So the bottom line there, I should go back here and tell you, because I did miss one key component here. And I need, Josh, if you'll scroll down on that screen there, if you've still got it up, the savings over 15 years in interest is almost $200,000. If you look at the list price to the payment assistance program, it's about $180,000, $190,000 in interest saved by following this. So not only is your payment less, your interest saved is less. You know, every way around this is better for all parties. The seller got more money up in cash, and the buyer has the lower payment, which they're looking for. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate current events and the financial markets. When we come back, let's take a look at what is tax loss harvesting and the effect of divorce in the workplace. We'll talk about all those and more. You can reach me anytime. Off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio, and if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the number 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
Is your budget getting blown up with high prices of gas and increased costs for other household needs? This is Ron Siegel, host of the daily Home and Finance radio program. Did you know if you have a low interest rate mortgage along with auto debt, credit card debt, or student loans, your family could potentially save $500 or more per month by restructuring these debts? If you'd like a free Borrow Smart analysis with our team, let's book an appointment to see how we might be able to relieve some stress. Schedule your appointment at rsrbsa.com. That's rsrbsa.com for your free Borrow Smart analysis. rsrbsa.com.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions, as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message. And I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. What do we got? The Borrow Smart segment brought to you by the National Institute of Financial Education. Borrow Smart. Love being able to get out there. There's so many people that just don't get the financial educations that we're looking for, that we really need in our society anymore. So we like the idea of our relationship with Borrow Smart and the National Institute of Financial Education, NIFE. What is tax law harvesting? Tax law harvesting is a strategic selling of investments for a loss to benefit from tax deductions. When you make money from investing, you have to pay taxes on your profits. When you sell losing investments, you can deduct the losses from your investment gains and a limited portion from your ordinary income as well. How do income taxes work with investments? Before diving into more details about tax law harvesting, it's helpful to have a high-level understanding of capital gains taxes, the taxes you pay on the profits from your investments. When you buy an investment such as stock, bond, mutual fund, or exchange-traded fund, the price you pay minus fees or commissions is your cost basis. When you sell the investment, you'll have to report the difference between your cost basis and the sale price on your tax return for the year. If you hold the investment for at least a year, you'll pay short-term capital gains on the profits, when you have the same tax rates as your ordinary income tax. If you held it for longer than a year, then you pay the long-term capital gains tax, which may be lower. When you sell an investment for less than your cost basis, you can deduct the loss from your taxable income. What to know about tax law harvesting? While tax law harvesting might help you lower your tax bill for the year, there are a few details to keep in mind. Losses offset similar types of gains. Your capital losses have to initially match the type of gains that you're offsetting. For example, if you have $1,000 in short-term gains, $2,000 in long-term gains, and $1,500 in short-term losses, then you can deduct $1,000 from your short-term gains and $500 from your long-term gains. When you have more capital losses than gains, you can deduct up to $3,000 in losses, $1,500 if you file using the married filed separately status, from your ordinary income each year. You can then roll over any remaining capital losses to the next year. Don't wait until the last minute. Tax law harvesting is something you need to do before the end of the year because the capital gains and losses are locked in place during the year you sell the investment. For example, the gains and losses from sales in 2022 will impact the tax return you file in 2023. You can only offset gains from taxable accounts. You don't report or pay taxes on gains from selling investments that are in a 401k, IRA, or other types of tax-advantaged account right away. So you can't offset these with capital losses and won't benefit from tax loss harvesting. Wash sale rules apply if you sell an investment for a loss and then rebuy it or buy a contract or option to buy a substantially identical security within 30 days. The wash sale rule applies. As a result, the loss will be added to the cost basis of the asset you buy, which can lower your taxable gains later, but you don't take a deduction this year. The rule applies even if you buy the investment in a different account, including a traditional or Roth IRA. You can repurchase similar types of investments. While the wash sale rule applies to substantially identical securities, you can purchase somewhat similar investments, such as a competitor's stock, to keep your overall portfolio in line. Some robo-advisors use this approach and automatic tax law harvesting to help organize clients' gains or optimize the client's gains. You'll also want to consider how much you'll actually benefit from capital losses. For example, if you're unmarried and make less than $41,676 in 2022, your capital gains tax rate is 0. While you might want to sell losing investments for other reasons, you won't benefit from the tax loss this year. Should you harvest losses? Tax law harvesting could be a silver lining if you're selling an investment for a loss, but try to keep your overall plan and long-term investment goals in mind. While selling solely to harvest taxes might be a good idea in some cases, you may want to discuss the options and alternatives with an investment advisor before making a decision. Sometimes continuing to hold on might be the better move. Also, talk to your tax advisor. I'm giving you some ideas here. I am not giving you tax advice. You need a tax advisor for that. We don't do that on Ron Siegel Radio. We can put you in touch with some great tax advisors, but again, that's not what we do. So we want to make sure you're getting the information from the right people, the right places, and getting the right guidance. Sometimes great advice costs a little bit extra. That is the Borrow Smart segment brought to you by the National Institute of Financial Education. Get some great information, always learning. I think we have time to give you a Better Outcome segment brought to you by mycdlp.com. Better Outcome brought to you by mycdlp.com. Hey, don't forget, you can get a free copy of the Divorce My Mortgage Workbook, the mydymworkbook.com, mydymworkbook.com. Fill it out with all your real property holdings, and then you can go and send it to us. We'll send you back a full report from it. The effect of divorce in the workplace. When there is a divorce, not only does it seem like your life shatters on an emotional front, but income decreases in most cases. You might be going from 2 income sources to 1. And if you think about it, the cost of living increases because now each spouse has to cover 100% of housing, utilities, etc. When employees get divorced, they face finding new affordable housing while remaining close to the office. According to the Society for Human Resource Management, homeowners, employees are less likely to job hop, call in sick, or miss work for unexplained reasons. In addition, multiple studies show that home ownership has a positive psychological impact on an individual, including an increased sense of investment in the community. We want the divorcing employee to continue owning a home. No one wants to go from owning a home to renting again, and renting after divorce can feel like you have regressed, and it feels temporary and unsettling. So let's discuss the challenges of obtaining new mortgage financing post-divorce. Family law, financial and tax planning, real property and mortgage planning have a definite intersection. Unfortunately, each divorce case is different, so it's hard to provide a black and white solution. Employees' home purchase power may decrease when they are required to pay spousal or child support. Even employees receiving support income, depending on how support is paid, the duration, etc., may be affected when the income doesn't count when qualifying for a mortgage. Even the actual verbiage in the settlement agreement regarding the distribution of debt, retirement accounts, and support payments can play a role in obtaining mortgage financing. Many times in a divorce, we're more focused on curing the problem at hand, like distributing real property and assets, that we forget there is life after divorce. The biggest challenge is the lack of knowledge, understanding, and preparedness of how the various pieces of the divorce puzzle fit together and indeed overlap. How does divorce mortgage planning benefit your employee? Divorce mortgage planning is a holistic approach to evaluating mortgage options in the context of the overall financial objectives relating to divorcing situations. Working directly with the divorcing team, a CDLP understands the intersection of divorce, financial and tax planning, real property, and mortgage planning. The role of the CDLP, Certified Divorce Lending Professional, is to help integrate the selected mortgage into overall long and short-term financial and investment goals to help minimize taxes and interest expenses while maximizing cash flow. Quick example of how divorce mortgage planning can benefit your divorcing employee. Let's say your employee, John, is going through a divorce. His wife will be retaining the marital home, and John will not only be paying spousal support, but his wife will be awarded 50% of his hard-earned 401k. John is probably feeling pretty defeated, not only emotionally, but financially as well. John will need to find a new place to live and rebuild his retirement and net worth. However, renting an apartment will be an actual expense for John, with none of his monthly payments going toward his net worth and equity. After all, the interest rate on rent is always 100%. And if John's wife is retaining the marital home and doesn't refinance the existing mortgage, how will John be able to purchase a new home while still obligated on the current mortgage and paying spousal support? The situation is where a strong divorce mortgage planner, a certified divorce lending professional, can help. CDLPs work directly with the divorcing employee and their professional team to strategically set the divorcing homeowner up for success. While, for example, in John's situation, a CDLP can work directly with the divorce team to ensure the verbiage in the settlement agreement works in John's favor for obtaining new mortgage financing. The specific wording in the agreement may not only remove John's debt load of the existing mortgage for obtaining new mortgage financing, but we can make sure spousal support is correctly categorized to benefit John's mortgage qualifications. If support obligations are categorized correctly, we may be able to reduce the spousal support from John's gross income calculation rather than as a hit to his debt load. Without going into the complete income analysis, it doesn't have to hurt as badly if handled correctly. For example, let's say that John's monthly salary is $10,000. His ex-spouse will receive 30% of his income. Traditionally, John's debt-to-income ratio is already at 30% without considering existing debt and a new housing payment. Why does that matter? Typically, typical total debt to income ratio is only 45%, leaving very little room for John to buy a new home. By implementing divorce mortgage planning, we can work with the divorce team and strategically categorize John's spousal support while increasing his purchase power on a new home. The mission of the Divorce Lending Association is to help divorcing homeowners make more informed decisions regarding their home equity solutions and mortgage financing options. Mortgage financing opportunities during and after the divorce. In the end, the employee feels more connected and has somewhat of a solid footing again. And when employees have a renewed sense of stability, they are more focused and committed at work. Give us a call to make sure there are no language traps between the intent of the divorce settlement agreement and mortgage guidelines. It's much easier to get it right the first time than risk mortgage denial because of word choices or lack of clarification. Just give us a call, 800-306-1990. We'd be more than happy to get this information off to you. And as always, get that free workbook, mydymworkbook.com, mydymworkbook.com. As always, I ask, set that first radio preset button to come back here and join Ron Siegel Radio, where we only speak about items affecting your house and your bank account. Thanks to all of our sponsors. A big thanks to Josh and Sean for engineering us today. And of course, a special thanks to you for spending a little bit of your day with us. That's all for Ron Siegel Radio. Again, if you have any questions or to meet any of our guests, call me anytime, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. And remember, make a lot of money so you can help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time on Ron Siegel Radio.